Hello friends! Welcome back to another episode of r/I Do Work Here Lady, where employees are often mistaken as regular Joe Schmoes, and it's really entertaining to listen to these mishaps. I hope you stay for all the stories today, and subscribe for future videos. Don't gossip to people in line, they might just work there too. I used to work at a fast food restaurant, and for a while, I took a break from work so I could focus on my family and schoolwork for a semester. I still went to the restaurant to eat sometimes and catch up with my friends who worked there. One day, I was standing in line at the store when this lady comes up and stands way too close behind me. I try to scoot up a little, but I don't want to get in someone else's personal space, so I don't go very far. She proceeds to move as well, standing just as close to me as she was before. Now the restaurant was a little short on employees at the front that day, so the line was moving slower than usual. Annoying lady tries to start small talk with me, complaining about the employees. Things such as, the employees here are so lazy, and I don't know why I still eat here. They need to hire more and better staff. My food is terrible every time I eat here. She just goes on, and I try my best to just ignore her. Meanwhile, the line continues to inch forward, and after what feels like forever, one of the managers finally notices me and says, "Hey OP, how you been? It's good to see you." I take the opportunity to step out of line, give my friend a hug, and get away from that crazy lady. We talk for about 30 seconds, and then she goes back to working drive-thru, and I move back to my place in line. Magically, the lady wasn't standing so close to me anymore, and said nothing else to me the rest of the time. This story is titled, Bank Customer Did Not Expect Her to be the Manager. In my first banking job, the branch manager was a 23-year-old Asian woman. The branch office that I worked in is in a wealthy neighborhood with mostly retirees. We had a lot of sweet old ladies who just loved coming into our branch because out of the 6 people working there, it was all women and 1 man. And the 1 man was a bank teller. So all the bankers and the manager and assistant manager were all young women. We did not do this on purpose, and it was only like this for a few months. But the old ladies loved it because back in their day, women were the secretaries, not the bankers. Anyway, some of the little old men did not care for it as much. One time, this man comes storming in, pissed off about a $3 charge in his account and says, "I want to speak to your manager. Is he in?" I looked at him and said, "Our manager is here. Let me call her." The look on his face when he saw our bombshell of a manager come strutting out to meet him was priceless. This story is titled, I Work Here, I Promise. I work in a home improvement store and typically work nights as a stalker, so I can see the confusion, but it's funny nonetheless. Night crew tends to have a more relaxed dress code. I was wearing a polo shirt and jeans. My manager called us in early because some holiday boxes had arrived unexpectedly. He told us to leave our work aprons in the lockers so we would less likely be interrupted. I was still holding onto an inventory device. A customer saw through this, however, and asked me to get something that they needed at the top of the overstock area. I was ahead in what I was doing, so I figured I would help them out. I grabbed the employees only ladder, and I'm about to go up when I hear yelling from below. It's what looked like to be the front end manager. She tells me to come down and demands to know what I'm doing, and that customers are not allowed on ladders in the store. I tell her that I work there, and as proof, I showed her my phone which is logged into the system, and we just kind of laugh, and tell her my manager told me not to wear my apron. We still tease each other about it. This one's titled, Surprise! I'm back! Back when I was taking a couple years off school, I worked in a medium-sized upscale restaurant. During my time there, I think I was well liked enough. Ended up dating a coworker and becoming close friends with a couple of managers. Now, as anyone who's worked in a restaurant can tell you, being friends with the managers can get you some perks. Things like free drinks after work, preferential scheduling, better big parties, etc. This infuriated one coworker we'll call Karen. Karen was not well liked, but she was honestly a good waiter. She was super nice to the customers, but once she was out of sight of the dining floor, she'd always swear and talk shit. Karen did not like me, and she made it very obvious. She would claim that I was sleeping with the managers for better tables, and while it was not true, I did on average get better shifts than most. The rest of the staff noticed, but didn't really care since I took 2 crap shifts a week, Sunday night and Monday double. Now Christmas time rolls around, and we had 3 event rooms, and everyone wanted the Christmas holiday and work parties. They were always set menu, lots of booze, and large auto gratuity checks, and you could double to triple a normal night's work off of one table. These were coveted tables, so of course, Karen would complain every time I got one and she didn't. You could taste her passive aggressiveness in the air when she was around. It got to the point where the owner took over the scheduling to try to even things out. Even this didn't stop her because obviously, I was sleeping with the owner too. Fast forward 8 months, and I've enrolled in grad school and will no longer be working at the restaurant. These are the happiest days of Karen's miserable life. My school is in the same town, so I'd still pop over to hang out on Sunday night for a free drink and half-off meal. One night a couple of months later, I come in like normal, but on the end of a Saturday night. Both managers, my significant other, and the owner are there, as well as Karen. I'm having my beer when Karen comes over and says, "Oh hey there OP, didn't recognize you." I said, "Hi Karen, how have you been? I always try to be nice." And she says, "The restaurant has been really busy since you left. Everyone's really happy to come into work since the shifts have gotten better and fair. Besides your significant other, people here are in a much better mood after you left." I replied, "Oh really?" "Oh yes, and there are so many good parties this year, and I'm lined up to get the best ones, as I'm now head waiter, since you don't work here anymore." Me, grinning my tail off, said, "Actually Karen, I do work here. I came in tonight to see if the owner needed any seasonal help. He does, and since the menu has changed and I don't know any of the new dishes, I'm just going to be working parties." At this point, her cheery demeanor that she used in front of the customers changes, and she goes fuming over to talk to the owner. I sit back and enjoyed my beer that much more. It was true. I told the owner I could work until school started or the holiday rush died. Since he was a bit short-staffed and wouldn't have to train me on the basics, I started right away and picked up some very nice holiday cash. Luckily, I was never scheduled to work a party with Karen. This one's titled, "My Own Manager Didn't Recognize Me." I used to work part-time at this fancy clothes store around the corner from my university, and one day, we had a staff meeting scheduled after the store closed. I wasn't working that day, and since it started half an hour after I finished class, I didn't have time to go home and change. I came straight from uni. I study music, and my regular style at the time was very different to what I wore for work. On this particular day, I was wearing black denim shorts, over-ripped black tights, and black platform combat boots, with a black singlet and a blue flannel shirt tied around my waist. I also had black eyeshadow, black lipstick, and electric blue eyeliner on. None of my coworkers had seen me outside of work, so when I walked up to the store just as it was closing, my manager came up to me and told me that I would have to leave because the register was already closed. I didn't quite know what to say, so I stared at her for a second and then said, "You don't recognize me, do you?" As soon as I spoke, she realized who I was, much to the surprise of both her and my coworkers. The whole thing was made funnier by the fact that she used to regularly text or call me last minute if they were short-staffed, asking if I could come in for an hour or two, since she knew I was just around the corner. I pretty much always said no, unless I had something else on after uni that I was already wearing that looked normal. She rarely asked again after that. This one's titled, "Actually, you do need to talk to me." There was no big scene and no police were called. It was just an interesting story. I was the front desk manager of a hotel. I was in charge of guest relations, as well as the front staff. I did all the hiring, firing, and training of staff, and my general manager basically just gave me freedom to run my area as I saw fit, intervening only when necessary. On this day, I was alone at the front desk, covering for an employee who was running late. My general manager was standing next to me in dirty, paint-covered scrubs, as she'd been helping the housekeeping staff with some minor maintenance that day. I'm a woman of 32 at the time, so I looked considerably younger. So this woman walks in while we're discussing the events of our day and preparing keycards for the evening arrivals. She's carrying a folder and pulling out a resume as she approaches the counter. I stop what I'm doing and walk towards her to greet her. I said, "Good afternoon, welcome to the hotel. My name's..." The lady, in a condescending tone as if I were a child, said, "Oh, hello dear. I have some important business and I need someone who knows what's what around here, like the manager." I stood shocked for a moment as she approached my manager at the desk. I walked back to stand next to her. The lady said, "Hi, my name's Karen. I see online that you're hiring for a front desk agent and I would like to apply for said position. as you'll see from my resume, and my boss cuts her off at this moment while taking the resume from her hand. My boss says, "I need to stop you right there. I don't do the hiring for the front desk, but she does," and she points at me. She's also the front desk manager and is in charge of scheduling and performing all interviews and has the final say of who gets hired. As she says this, I walk up close to her and she hands me the resume with a smile before walking off. I smile at the lady, who's now gone pale and pretty much has to pick up her jaw from the floor. I said, "As I was saying, my name's Jen and I'm in charge of hiring. Are you looking for full-time or part-time?" We had a brief conversation about her skills and experience, and during the whole time, she couldn't look me in the face, and I sent her on her way. I never called her back for an interview, not because of her actions, but because I had more qualified applicants to consider. I did pass on her resume to the head housekeeper, who heard the story, and she decided to call her for an interview for the hell of it. The lady refused the offer. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed hearing these stories today. If you didn't catch the last I Do Work Here Lady episode, it's right here. I got you covered. See you guys in the next one.